Hello everyone, it's the weekend. Welcome again to United Insurance's Line and Length. It's the cricket program where we look at the sport not only in the region but internationally as well. I'm Barry Wilkinson, with me is Andrew Seeley. And Andrew, what a shambolic start the West Indies have had to this we versus them series. It appeared that we came, they saw, and then conquered.
Certainly, New Zealand, a polished professional performance from a thoroughly professional New Zealand team. Batted for 2 days in the first innings. That's what's supposed to happen in Test cricket.
Indeed. On today's program, we talked to someone who's been there, seen that, and reported on it all. But I'm sure he would have been quite surprised to see how meekly the West Indies surrendered. I'm talking about Tony Cozier. He's our special guest today. Of course, England have also kicked off or bowled off their series with Sri Lanka. We just discussed a little bit about that. But you look at the West Indies performance, which we're going to detail. It was not what Chris Gayle would have wanted for his 100th Test, which is quite a monumental start, a monumental season in his career.
But certainly 100 Tests. Obviously, the fans disappointed as well, because on day one of Gayle's 100th Test, just about 5,000 fans at Sabina Park. It's telling me that Test cricket is obviously going somewhere, and where it's going is not a good place.
At least in the Caribbean, it is certainly not very strong, because over the 3 days after that,
less than 4,000.
Less than 4,000 people combined, which is not good. We're going to examine that on our program. So when we come back, we will look back at that first test. The West Indies head, of course, to Trinidad and Tobago. That second test starts on Monday. But we look back at what happened in Kingston, Jamaica with Tony Cozier. Don't move a muscle.
When you are insured with United Insurance, you know you're in safe hands, because our AM Best Excellent rating means that we have the financial strength and stability to protect your prized possessions. Rely on the company that understands your needs for property, motor, business, and marine insurance. For all your general insurance needs, choose United Insurance.
As the battle heats up across the region in the Lengthe Caribbean Premier League T20, there's only one way to keep your cool.
Lengthe, the freshness of a breeze in a bottle.
In the Caribbean, we do things a little differently. Okay, a lot differently. Our parties are bigger and more colorful. Our people are more beautiful and more sensual. Our fans are more expressive and loud. And our cricket is exhilarating. Lengthe CPL, the biggest party in sport, is back, and it's time to come see the stars of West Indies cricket alongside the best international players in T20. Peterson, Muralitharan, Hafiz, and many more when the Lengthe CPL returns from 11th July to 16th August. The Caribbean comes alive with partying, dancing, cheering, and the thrill of the Lengthe Caribbean Premier League. It's time to join the biggest party in sport. See cplT20.com for details.
Welcome back to the show. Of course, you're on United Insurance's Line and Length. With us is Tony Cozier. We look back at that first test performance with the West Indies being beaten so badly by the Kiwis. Tony, you've been there, you've done that, you've virtually seen it all now, West Indies cricket. How much did that defeat surprise you?
Not really, not really. The West Indies came from India and New Zealand on a down, and they didn't have time to perk themselves up. They were here for a camp for a week, and since New Zealand were here in 2012 and lost both test matches, they've made a lot of changes. They said, look, we're not going to stand for this. They changed the captain. Taylor went to McCullum. They got in a new coach, Mike Hezon, and then a lot of the new players started to come in, and they made a lot of changes, and you could see when they were playing in New Zealand how they'd improved. They held England to a draw. They really should have won the last test match, the last pair of the wicket. They then beat West Indies very, very badly in the 3-test series, and then they went on to beat India in New Zealand, a strong Indian side, which is rated very much higher than they on the ICC ratings. So you knew they were coming here prepared to take revenge on what happened in 2012, and I don't think the West Indies really were ready. There were players there who had gone through a bad time in India and in New Zealand, and who were kept in the side. They brought back a number of players from long layoffs. So you saw Kemar Roach, for instance, with his injured shoulder,
That's right.
which he had had since October last year.
Yeah.
First day you could see that he needed a run. Taylor came in, did really well. He will improve as he goes on. Sulan Ben, also been out of Test cricket for a long time. And then Shane Shillingford, whose main strength is his off break and the doosra.
Which he couldn't bowl.
Now he's banned from bowling the doosra.
Yeah.
So you might as well tell a fast bowler, okay, you can't bowl in the bouncers.
Correct.
I mean, it just, you know, so they bring him in the side and then they finish off the order with 4 bowlers. So you go into a test match with 4 bowlers, 2 spinners and 2 quick bowlers. And that's about it. It was a badly selected side overall, I feel. You know, this is the first test series I've missed on television, being a member of the commentary panel since TV started here in the West Indies in 1991. And it was just as painful watching it from the drawing room at home as it would have been, I'm sure, if I was at Sabina Park.
No, Tony, you know, Andrew and myself were speaking before the series. You look at someone like a Mark Craig who did so well. They would not have seen Mark Craig before. I assume that they didn't. Did he bowl that good that he would have rattled the West Indies batsmen with his off spin? Was it that complicated?
Or in fact, that much better than Ben and Shillingford?
Correct.
But he certainly bowled better than Ben and Shillingford, looking on the results. He's an off-spin bowler. He's not vicious. Reminds me something of Graham Swan. He's one of those off-spinners who doesn't have a kink in the action. There's so many of them who do have kinks in the action. no, let's be frank
it's
about
true.
it.
Yeah.
And he's nice and clean, and he just, control was so good. His control were really good. His variation, for instance, men around the bat, and he got both Samuels in the second innings, Kirk Edwards in the second innings, scored around the corner. Never should happen. But he could see, he shifted his line. A very clever bowler. But he would not have been selected in a West Indies team if he was West Indian. Before he was selected, he had played 22 first-class matches. He'd only had 43 wickets, an average of 42.
Well,
there was no way a West Indies selector was going to pick a player like that. But the New Zealanders saw something in him. Vittori couldn't come. Jeetan Patel, the other off-spinner, said he'd remain with Warwickshire. And, you know, they bring this fella from nowhere. Push him in the first test match. He's man of the match. And he can bat. I mean, he hit that 6. Okay, that's the first ball he ever faced in Test cricket. But his highest Test score is 93. He's had 4 half centuries. You know, that's what the kind of bowlers that we need batting towards the end.
Yeah.
We make a big hoo-ha about Shane Shillingford at the end. But nothing was in the match then.
Nothing.
You know?
The match was done and dusted.
And the crowd loved it because it was T20 cricket. That's what it was. It wasn't Test cricket, it was T20 cricket. And of course, the crowd still loved T20.
But the fundamental point, though, being, Tony, at 134 for 9 and 38 overs, there's something fundamentally wrong with the West Indies batting lineup when after 38 overs you can be 134 for 9 against a New Zealand team that is just rated 1 notch above you. What will happen when we go to South Africa at the end of the year?
Well, it's nothing new. I mean, when West Indies were in New Zealand, I don't think we batted, we made 103 all out in one of the test matches. He barely got 150, I think, in the other 2. In India, we got dismissed very cheaply. So I don't think this is new. I don't think we bat, you know, it's difficult for the West Indies to bat a whole day. And it's been going back for a long time. And yet, what Darren Sammy, who's now being replaced as captain, said after the tour of New Zealand, we cannot continue like this.
No.
But
this
we
is
have.
what he said. And
We have.
Well,
Without Sammy.
There it is. We have. And what do we do now? We go into the second test match. The selectors, I feel, have to be brave now, have to be bold, have to be adventurous. Those who are struggling, Karen Powell has struggled since he's played those.
I believe you have some stats
I
on
do
him.
have a few stats.
And they're outstanding, aren't they?
Well, kind of. Because let's look at Kieran Powell.
Yeah.
You know, he got 100 in each innings
against
of a test
Bangladesh.
match against Bangladesh.
That's right.
Since then, He's played 9 tests, 17 innings, and he averages 19.37. Looking at him, he's a nice-looking player to look at, but he seems to have lacked all confidence.
Yeah.
And you just don't, when he goes into open the batting, you know, I'm
nervous
because I feel you can get out.
Something will happen. Something's going to happen.
very quickly.
He doesn't look it. He just doesn't look it, you know. So there's time for somebody else to be given a chance. Then you have Marlon Samuels, since his tremendous year in 2012, has eight test matches, 14 innings, and he's averaging 20 in that time. So what they're doing now, you're going on past performance, not on recent performance.
Not recent form, at least.
No. And then you got Kirk Edwards. Since he had that horrible tour of England, he's come back. He's only had 4 tests all against New Zealand, but he averages 20 against the same New Zealand side that's here. Whereas 22-year-old Jermaine Blackwood from Jamaica, I saw him here against Bangladesh at Kensington. Okay, it's only Bangladesh A. He's playing for West Indies A, which is high performance centre, but really
Whatever
West
you call
Indies
it,
A.
West Indies A.
And brilliant, absolutely brilliant. I don't think he has any fear. He's a good player of spin. Give him a chance. Give him a chance. Get him in there. This is what the New Zealanders have done. Look who the New Zealanders brought here. You know, Nisham, 100 in the second test match.
That's right.
Lengthe on debut, 80 odd in the first innings, and again 50 odd in the second. All of these young players coming in. You go
Where have New Zealand found these players though, Tony? What were their records like prior to selection? If you make the point that our
what was their
selectors
first
are not
class records
right, if you make the point that West Indian selectors are not bold enough,
yes,
are Kiwi selectors bold enough to go with these players, take the chance, and hope for the best?
Well, they have. Lengthe is only 22 years of age.
Right. What was his performance?
His first test match, he's a left-hander. First test match at the age of 22. I think he was averaging in first-class cricket 40, 42 or something.
Okay.
And that's New Zealand first-class cricket. Nisham, age of 23. You know, 100 against India in his first test innings, 100 against the West Indies in his second, and also can bowl medium pace. He only came in because Corey Anderson, who we saw in New Zealand when we were there, good hard-hitting left-hander, bowls a stiff ball. He's only age 23. Craig, the off-spinner, as I mentioned, he now comes into the side. Selectors are bold. They brought them in. You know, they said what happened before, and they seem to be well schooled. They seem to be well coached. They seem to be together under McCallum. And, you know, this is all the things that West Indies are not over the last few years. And I really don't know what we can do about it, but I think we've got to be bold.
Innovative.
In the next test, we're bold and innovative. You looking at the thesaurus there?
Yeah, I got it wrong right here. Right here. Right here.
Right. So the thing is that, you know, they say, oh, we can't drop a player after 1 test. It's not 1 test. We've had 3 tests against New Zealand, and this is the 4th test of that series continuation. They've had long opportunities, and they've not seized them. Let somebody else come in to see what they can do.
All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, we're going to rewind a little bit. And when we do that, we'll certainly look at Chris Gayle's 100th appearance. Chris Gayle, how is he looking for the rest of this series and for the rest of his future? When we come back on United Insurance's Lengthe.
When you are insured with United Insurance, you know what it feels like to feel this safe. Choose the financially strong regional insurance company with the strength and stability to protect your prized possessions. For property, motor, business, and marine insurance, you're in safe hands with United Insurance.
As the battle heats up across the region in the Lengthe Caribbean Premier League T20, there's only one way to keep your cool.
Lengthe, the freshness of a breeze in a bottle.
In the Caribbean, we do things a little differently. Okay, a lot differently. Our parties are bigger and more colorful. Our people are more beautiful and more sensual. or fans are more expressive and louder, and or cricket is exhilarating. Limacall CPL, the biggest party in sport, is back, and it's time to come see the stars of West Indies cricket alongside the best international players in T20, Peterson, Mulitharan, Hafiz, and many more when the Limacall CPL returns from 11th July to 16th August. The Caribbean comes alive with partying, dancing, cheering, and the thrill of the Limacall Caribbean Premier League. It's time to join the biggest party in sport. See cplt20.com for details.
We're back on the program. Of course, you're watching United Insurance's Line and Length. Tony Cozier is here with us. We look back at that first test, the West Indies of shambolic performance. They lost by 186 runs within 4 days after New Zealand batted almost 2 days in the first innings. And then their tactics were so weird in the second innings. They snailed along to 100+ runs before they declared. Now, Tony, this test match was not an ordinary one for Chris Gayle. It was his 100th test. We know he's injured. We know that he said he has a trapped nerve, I think is the correct term. But what we saw was him fighting to try and do well. He made 64, but you can't help but look back and say he did not look at his best in terms of how he felt physically.
No, I think he, looking at Chris Gayle in the IPL, for instance, when he had, by his standards, a very disappointing IPL. And, you know, that's not the Chris Gayle we know. No. That's not the Chris Gayle we know. People are saying, well, this is the end for Gayle. This injury perhaps is hindering him. It's always difficult to write off Chris Gayle. When he came back from the suspension which he had from the West Indies board, he made 100 first time in a test match. When he lost the captaincy to Sammy, he had 333. So you just get a feeling that when adversity comes up, you know, he rises. Yeah. But you know, you can't do anything if it's injury. You know, if it's really a pretty serious injury, he's labouring in the field. How much longer he can go? I mean, that first session, the first hour, when Saudi kept beating the outside edge, you know, you really felt sorry to watch such a commanding player being beaten so consistently outside the off stump. But he stuck it out, and he went on to make a 60, as you say. But you know, it's his 100th test match, a big occasion, of course. A lot was made of it. But I don't think Shivraj Chandapal in his 150th test match be lost in 3 days by an innings. So, right. You know, it's the last man to make 100 in his 100th test match for the West Indies was Gordon Greenidge. Now, that was a slightly different team.
A much better one.
But of course, this is slightly different. Ooh, almost blasphemous.
Andrew was talking earlier about Chandapal. You were impressed with how Chandapal batted.
Oh, but I mean, what more can we say about Shivraj Chandapal? There's some among us in the Caribbean that want to suggest that because of his selfish nature, at age 39, heading into 40, that we probably need to see the back of Shivraj Chandapal. Your thoughts, Tony?
Well, it's a good thing he's selfish, because I mean, was the only one there who looked as if he couldn't get out. Mm-hmm. And he didn't in the first innings. He hasn't got out on many occasions during his test career. He batted, and the others are struggling, with the exception of Ramden. I think Ramden played really well.
Yes.
Came out and played with...
He looked like a captain. He batted like a captain.
Positive intent.
And also very responsibly. He looked responsible.
Positive intent. And then Chandapal made that misjudgment in the second innings. But, you know, were it not for him, where would we be? And who is going to take his place when he goes, as he has to, within, I don't know how long, but we're hoping that he hangs on till he's about 73 or so thereabouts. I can relate to that.
That specific number.
But that specific number. But I mean, you know, he really is amazing that, you know, he can play that type of innings on a pitch they say was flat, but was not perfect. And you know, the bowlers had the ball hooping around and so on, and he looked so much higher than the rest.
Before you discuss the published report, it has been said that Sammy used to offset the balance of that West Indies team. Right. There's no Sammy. But the West Indies still went into the game with 2 fast bowlers and 4 bowlers per se. Did we or do we continue to undervalue bowling in that balance of a side?
Well, I think the injury to Dwayne Bravo really unbalanced the side as well. if Dwayne Bravo was fit enough, I'm sure he would have played. Now, who would he have played instead of? I would have thought Shillingford would have been the one, or Ben, but I would think more Shillingford, because you have a left-arm spinner.
But that can't happen now, because you need someone to score a quick 50 for your next test.
Exactly, and let the crowd cheer and everything,
Oh,
and bring
gosh.
the T20 cricket into it. But then, you know, I would say probably he would have been the one to go, because you have Samuels who can bowl a bit of off spin, not bad, and then you had the left-arm spin. But of course, with Dwayne Bravo out and Chris Jordan playing for England rather than us, you know, we just let him go. Bill Athey said, asked about that in England. Bill Athey, the former England player who spotted him here and carried him on a scholarship to Dulwich College in England, said, well, how, you know, he wanted to play for West Indies, he said that. And then Bill Athey said, well, they weren't too fussed about whether he played for England or not. So we've lost him. Now, he would have been ideal. He's batting next for England, batting at number 7 in the order, and he's a good quick bowler. That's the type of man we want in there to back up Taylor and Roach. You know,
And possibly Jason Holder.
And fellas who can bat. Now, Jason Holder, you know, he's got to be able to bat. Give us 50s, 60s, give us 100, you know.
Tony, are we missing a trick by not introducing Kieran Pollard into the team? We're talking about somebody who can bat and bowl. He does bowl in a lot of
who has also done well at first-class cricket.
Not
when
bowl.
he played in Trinidad.
Let's stop right there.
Okay.
Right, he can hit the ball really hard. He's a tremendous fielder.
Yes.
In those two areas, he's a brilliant, certainly short form of the game. But as far as bowling in a test match, he'll come in and give you a few overs. But, you know, I would say probably on level with, well, let's say Darren Sammy or someone like that. He's not going to, you know, he's not the third bowler you're looking to back up the other two. He's not the third seam bowler in a side. He's not.
Okay. Well, when we come back, we want to discuss the Pybus report, because that Pybus report continues to be a lot of debate about it. We heard about the Patterson report. A lot of things there were not implemented. But we have some files pulled on the Pybus report, and we'll discuss that when we come back on United Insurance's Line and Lengthe.
When you are insured with United Insurance, you know what it feels like to feel this safe. Choose the financially strong regional insurance company with the strength and stability to protect your prized possessions. For property, motor, business, and marine insurance, you're in safe hands with United Insurance.
As the battle heats up across the region in the Lengthe Caribbean Premier League T20, there's only one way to keep your cool. Lengthe.
Lengthe, the freshness of a breeze in a bottle.
In the Caribbean, we do things a little differently. Okay, a lot differently. Our parties are bigger and more colorful. Our people are more beautiful and more sensual. Our fans are more expressive and loud. And our cricket is exhilarating. Limacall CPL, the biggest party in sport, is back, and it's time to come see the stars of West Indies cricket alongside the best international players in T20. Peterson, Mulitharan, Hafiz, and many more when the Limacall CPL returns from 11th July to 16th August. The Caribbean comes alive with partying, dancing, cheering, and the thrill of the Limacall Caribbean Premier League. It's time to join the biggest party in sport. See cplt20.com for details.
We're back for the last lap on the program. United Insurance's Line and Lengthe. Tony Cozier continues to stay with us. Now, about 2 decades ago, or even more, Tony, we had the Patrick with the PJ Patterson, I beg your pardon, report, which was an intricate look at what he thought were the remedies and all of the scenarios to help West Indies cricket. A lot of those things were not per se implemented. People say it was perhaps a waste of money because you paid so much for this illustrious report that was not done. Now, the new head of cricket with the West Indies Cricket Board, Richard Pybus, he's done something similar. How serious would it be if they do not implement the things he's said to save Test cricket in the region?
Well, there are a lot of things which he has recommended. for instance, doubling up the season, the home season, the first class season, starting in October. That's going to cost money, of course, quite a lot of money, getting players moved around. The West Indies first policy, which has caused Sunil Narayan not to be considered for the Test series. So that comes in. They're going to go with 90 contracted players. So obviously that will have an effect. I'm sure that will have an effect. Hopefully the board will have the money to do it. We see that the president now said that they have had a very good financial year last year.
But not a very good cricket year, but a good financial year.
Well, one leads on to the other. This is the point I'm making with Pybus. You know, if you can't finance the Pybus report, it's no sense. But the Pybus report...
Oh, so we're good at this stage then, because we can finance it.
Well, hopefully. But, you know, it's going to cost millions.
Oh, yeah, it is definitely.
So, but they've got to do it. They've got to do it. You know, we've got to catch up with the rest of the world. It's all very well to say that Haynes and Garner and Marshall and that lot came up with only one round of Shell Shield cricket. But then they played county cricket in England.
That's right.
And a lot of them played league cricket and so on. Whereas players here will now have the opportunity to play 2 rounds of first class cricket. They'll be under contract. One of the recommendations is for the High Performance Centre to be turned into the A-Team Centre, and the A-Team will stay there throughout the year and be ready to come into a Test cricket or whatever. So the team will have a professional
outlook.
Right, like for instance the American football and basketball and so on.
Yeah.
I think the same thing obtains in England in the football as well. You have academies even for 15-year-olds and so on. They go into the academy early on. All of these things we now have to implement. It's a long way, and I think as important as anything else is getting the pitches up to quality standard. The pitches are diabolical, and that's what Sullivan Ben said after the Test match.
Is it the pitches are diabolical, or we don't have good cricketers to exploit the pitches? Because I thought that New Zealand were bowling on a different pitch when I saw the West Indies batting.
No, I think our pitches are not good.
Okay.
Sullivan Ben said, you know, he had to bowl 50 overs against the New Zealanders on a pitch which he said was not all that different to what he bowls on in the first class competition. But the players at first class level in the West Indies don't have the patience that the New Zealanders did in the Test match. He's not playing Test players because the Test players are off playing IPL or whatever. So he says, you know, he can get rid of them, and he's got something like 60-odd wickets in the past 2 seasons or whatever. And the same thing with all the spinners. The batsmen don't have the patience or the application that we saw the New Zealanders have, and they put into their game.
Andrew wanted to access Otis Gibson.
But certainly some of the comments from Gibson have been a little surprising, Tony, given the recent performances of the team. What do you think of his current position now at this stage? Because it could be a little dicey for Gibson at the moment.
Most certainly. After New Zealand as well, I go back to Darren Sammy. He said when we go back, there'll be a lot of questions asked, and a lot of careers could be on the line, including mine. That's what he said.
No proven.
Right, you know, he had to go then. And I would have thought then, on the basis of the fact that the results have been so poor, that the coach has to answer to it. He's the one he's the coach. The captain is gone. The coach is still there. So that also comes into the equation.
But there's also been a lot of discussion about the support staff around this team. There's so many support staff, and yet then we also called in Curtly Ambrose, we called in Sir Vivian Richards, Sir Garfield Sobers. There seem to be more support staff than actual players.
Well, England had 34 support staff in Australia.
And they lost the Ashes.
Well, look what happened there.
Right.
The coach got sacked. Ashley Giles.
The assistant coach, the batting coach gone.
Well, batting coach went as well. They've got a new coach in now, or let's say a recalled coach in Peter Moores. So these are the repercussions you would expect, certainly, let's say, Premier League football in England. When the team is not doing well, they're very, very ruthless as far as the coach is concerned. Out you go. And, you know, the board will be considering Gibson's position, I'm sure. They've already decided that they don't want Sammy as captain. The results weren't good enough. His performances weren't good enough. So that all of these things have to be considered.
All right. Well, we're out of time. We want to thank Tony Cozier for coming by today. It's been another interesting edition. Next week, of course, we'll review that second test, and we'll see if it's going to be 1-1, 2-0, or still 1-0. But the results are always imminent, or result, I should say, is always imminent, playing in Trinidad and Tobago at the Queen's Park Oval. So that's it for this program. We look forward to seeing you next week. Perhaps we'll have Tony back and look at the second test, which was going to bowl off on Monday. Bye-bye for now.